Berkshire Hathaway Inc. To the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway Inc., this letter comes to you as part of Berkshire's annual report. As a public company, we are required to periodically tell you many specific facts and figures. Report, however, implies a greater responsibility. In addition to the mandated data, we believe we owe you additional commentary about what you own and how we think. Our goal is to communicate with you in a manner that we would wish you to use if our positions were reversed. That is, if you were Berkshire CEO while I and my family were passive investors, trusting you with our savings. This approach leads us to an annual recitation of both good and bad developments at the many businesses you indirectly own through your Berkshire shares. When discussing problems at specific subsidiaries, we do, however, try to follow the advice Tom Murphy gave to me 60 years ago. Praise by name, criticize by category. Over the years, Charlie Munger and I have sought out businesses with enduring economic advantages, run by people we trust, and available at sensible prices. That search has often been successful, but not always. Mistakes are part of the game. Mistakes, yes, we make them at Berkshire. Sometimes I've made mistakes in assessing the future economics of a business I've purchased for Berkshire, each a case of capital allocation gone wrong. That happens with both judgments about marketable equities. We view these as partial ownership of businesses and the 100% acquisitions of companies. At other times, I've made mistakes when assessing the abilities or fidelity of the managers Berkshire is hiring. The fidelity disappointments can hurt beyond their financial impact, a pain that can approach that of a failed marriage. A decent batting average in personnel decisions is all that can be hoped for. The cardinal sin is delaying the correction of mistakes, or what Charlie Munger called thumb-sucking. Problems, he would tell me, cannot be wished away. They require action, however uncomfortable that may be. During the 2019-23 period, I have used the words mistake or error 16 times in my letters to you. Many other huge companies have never used either word over that span. Amazon, I should acknowledge, made some brutally candid observations in its 2021 letter. Elsewhere, it has generally been happy talk and pictures. I have also been a director of large public companies at which mistake or wrong were forbidden words at board meetings or analyst calls. That taboo, implying managerial perfection, always made me nervous, though at times there could be legal issues that make limited discussion advisable. We live in a very litigious society. At 94, it won't be long before Greg Abel replaces me as CEO and will be writing the annual letters. Greg shares the Berkshire creed that a report is what a Berkshire CEO annually owes to owners. And he also understands that if you start fooling your shareholders, you will soon believe your own baloney and be fooling yourself as well. Pete Legal, one of a kind. Let me pause to tell you the remarkable story of Pete Legal, a man unknown to most Berkshire shareholders, but one who contributed many billions to their aggregate wealth. Pete died in November, still working at 80. I first heard of Forest River, the Indiana company Pete founded and managed, on June 21, 2005. On that day, I received a letter from an intermediary detailing relevant data about the company, a recreational vehicle manufacturer. The writer said that Pete, the 100% owner of Forest River, specifically wanted to sell to Berkshire. He also told me the price that Pete expected to receive. I like this no-nonsense approach. I did some checking with RV dealers, liked what I learned, and arranged a June 28th meeting in Omaha. Pete brought along his wife Sharon and daughter Lisa. When we met, Pete assured me that he wanted to keep running the business but would feel more comfortable if he could assure financial security for his family. Pete next mentioned that he owned some real estate that was leased to Forest River and had not been covered in the June 21st letter. Within a few minutes, we arrived at a price for those assets, as I expressed no need for appraisal by Berkshire, but would simply accept his valuation. Then we arrived at the other point that needed clarity. I asked Pete what his compensation should be, adding that whatever he said I would accept. This, I should add, is not an approach I recommend for general use. Pete paused as his wife daughter and I leaned forward. Then he surprised us. Well, I looked at Berkshire's proxy statement, and I wouldn't want to make more than my boss, so pay me $100,000 per year. After I picked myself off the floor, Pete added, but we will earn X this year, and I would like an annual bonus of 10% of any earnings above what the company is now delivering. I replied, okay, Pete, but if Forest River makes any significant acquisitions, we will make an appropriate adjustment for the additional capital thus employed. I didn't define appropriate or significant, but those vague terms never caused a problem. The four of us then went to dinner at Omaha's Happy Hollow Club and lived happily ever after. During the next 19 years, Pete shot the lights out. No competitor came close to his performance. Every company doesn't have an easy-to-understand business, and there are very few owners or managers like Pete. And of course, I expect to make my share of mistakes about the businesses Berkshire buys, and sometimes err in evaluating the sort of person with whom I'm dealing. But I've also had many pleasant surprises in both the potential of the business as well as the ability and fidelity of the manager. And our experience is that a single winning decision can make a breathtaking difference over time. Think Geico as a business decision, Ajit Jain as a managerial decision, and my luck in finding Charlie Munger as a one-of-a-kind partner, personal advisor, and steadfast friend. Mistakes fade away, winners can forever blossom. One further point in our CEO selections. I never look at where a candidate has gone to school. Never. Of course, there are great managers who attended the most famous schools. But there are plenty, such as Pete, who may have benefited by attending a less prestigious institution or even by not bothering to finish school. Look at my friend Bill Gates, who decided that it was far more important to get underway in an exploding industry that would change the world than it was to stick around for a parchment that he could hang on the wall. Read his new book, Source Code. Not long ago, I met by phone Jessica Tunkel, whose step-grandfather, Ben Rosner, long ago ran a business for Charlie and me. Ben was a retailing genius, and in preparing for this report, I checked with Jessica to confirm Ben's schooling, which I remembered as limited. Jessica's reply, Ben never went past 6th grade. I was lucky enough to get an education at 3 fine universities, and I avidly believe in lifelong learning. I've observed, however, that a very large portion of business talent is innate with nature swamping nurture. Pete Legal was a natural. Last year's performance. In 2024, Berkshire did better than I expected, though 53% of our 189 operating businesses reported a decline in earnings. We were aided by a predictable large gain in investment income as Treasury bill yields improved, and we substantially increased our holdings of these highly liquid short-term securities. Our insurance business also delivered a major increase in earnings, led by the performance of Geico. In 5 years, Todd Combs has reshaped Geico in a major way, increasing efficiency and bringing underwriting practices up to date. Geico was a long-held gem that needed major repolishing, and Todd has worked tirelessly in getting the job done. Though not yet complete, the 2024 improvement was spectacular. In general, property casualty insurance pricing strengthened during 2024, reflecting a major increase in damage from convective storms. Climate change may have been announcing its arrival. However, no monster event occurred during 2024. Someday, any day, a truly staggering insurance loss will occur, and there is no guarantee that there will be only one per annum. The PC business is so central to Berkshire that it warrants a further discussion that appears later in this letter. Berkshire's railroad and utility operations, our 2 largest businesses outside of insurance, improved their aggregate earnings. Both, however, have much left to accomplish. Late in the year, we increased our ownership of the utility operation from about 92% to 100% at a cost of roughly $3.9 billion, of which $2.9 billion was paid in cash with a balance in Berkshire B shares. All told, we recorded operating earnings of $47.4 billion in 2024. We regularly, endlessly, some readers may groan, emphasize this measure rather than the GAAP-mandated earnings that are reported in the financial section. Our measure excludes capital gains or losses on the stocks and bonds we own, whether realized or unrealized. Over time, we think it highly likely that gains will prevail. Why else would we buy these securities? Though the year-by-year numbers will swing wildly and unpredictably. Our horizon for such commitments is almost always far longer than a single year. In many, our thinking involves decades. These long-termers are the purchases that sometimes make the cash register ring like church bells. Surprise, surprise, an important American record is smashed. 60 years ago, present management took control of Berkshire. That move was a mistake, my mistake, and one that plagued us for 2 decades. Charlie, I should emphasize, spotted my obvious error immediately, though the price I paid for Berkshire looked cheap. Its business, a large northern textile operation, was headed for extinction. The U.S. Treasury, of all places, had already received silent warnings of Berkshire's destiny. In 1965, the company did not pay a dime of income tax, an embarrassment that had generally prevailed at the company for a decade. Fast forward 60 years, and imagine the surprise at the Treasury when that same company, still operating under the name of Berkshire Hathaway, paid far more in corporate income tax than the U.S. government had ever received from any company. To be precise, Berkshire last year made 4 payments to the IRS that totaled $26.8 billion. That's about 5% of what all of corporate America paid. If Berkshire had sent the Treasury a $1 million check every 20 minutes throughout all of 2024, visualize 366 days and nights because 2024 was a leap year, we still would have owed the federal government a significant sum at year-end. Huge numbers can be hard to visualize. Let me rephrase. Berkshire shareholders last year paid a larger sum to the U.S. Treasury than did any company in American history. That record will not be broken. Where your money is. Berkshire's equity activity is ambidextrous. In one hand, we own control of many businesses, holding at least 80% of the investees' shares. Generally, we own 100%. These subsidiaries include a few rare gems, many good but far from fabulous businesses, and some laggards that have been disappointments. In the other hand, we own small percentages of a dozen or so very large and highly profitable businesses with household names such as Apple, American Express, Coca-Cola, and Moody's. We are impartial in our choice of equity vehicles, investing in either variety based upon where we can best deploy your savings. Despite what some commentators currently view as an extraordinary cash position at Berkshire, the great majority of your money remains in equities. That preference won't change. Charlie and I have long emphasized the importance of owning productive assets. Paper money can see its value evaporate if fiscal folly prevails. Businesses, however, usually find a way to cope. Capitalism has its faults and abuses, in certain respects more egregious now than ever, but it can also work wonders unmatched by other economic systems. America's Exhibit A. Property casualty insurance. Property casualty insurance remains Berkshire's core business. It is a business that, in its simplest form, follows a financial model that is rare among giant enterprises. When writing PC insurance, we receive payment up front and only later learn what our product has cost us. This model allows for both extraordinary profitability and extraordinary risk. Under Ajit Jain's leadership, Berkshire's insurance operation has blossomed into a world leader. Ajit has assembled a group of managers who are disciplined, experienced, and unafraid to walk away from business that does not offer appropriate pricing. We never write inadequately priced policies simply to stay in the game. That path leads to disaster. Our insurance group is renowned for its willingness to accept large and unusual risks when the odds are in our favor, and equally renowned for its financial strength, which allows us to honor our promises regardless of circumstances. All things considered, we like the PC insurance business. Berkshire increases its Japanese investments. A small but important exception to our U.S.-based focus is our growing investment in Japan. It's been almost 6 years since Berkshire began purchasing shares in 5 Japanese companies that operate in a manner somewhat similar to Berkshire itself. These companies are large, diversified, conservatively financed, and managed in a way that emphasizes shareholder value and long-term thinking. Our holdings of the 5 are for the very long term, and we are committed to supporting their boards of directors. The annual gathering in Omaha. I hope you will join us in Omaha on May 3rd. Our goal is that you get many of your questions answered, that you connect with friends, and that you leave with a good impression of Omaha. The meeting will again be held at the CHI Health Center. Doors will open early, and the meeting will begin at 8 a.m. Central Time. We will take a short break for lunch and then resume answering questions in the afternoon. As in the past, Greg Abel and Ajit Jain will join me on stage and help respond to the wide range of questions that shareholders ask. We have no script, and we do not know what questions will be asked in advance. Shareholders will also have an opportunity to shop for a wide array of Berkshire products. This year, we will again feature items from many of our operating businesses, and we will also be offering a special commemorative book celebrating 60 years since present management took control of Berkshire. The Berkshire directors and I immensely enjoy having you come to Omaha, and I predict that you will have a good time and likely make some new friends. February 22nd, 2025. Warren E. Buffett, Chairman of the Board,